I go to the doctor just to sit down and say, well, hi, it cost me $81.50. Okay, that's just, I walk in the door.
Right.
What I would like to see, and I cannot afford the health care,
Right.
okay? Blue Cross Blue Shield, whatever it is. I cannot afford it each month. It's a scary situation to be in. But I work in, I work about 5 jobs, okay? One of them I work part-time for mental health, one of them, you know, and I see these people, you know, with 4 or 5 kids. They all got health waiver, Medicare, or whatever, or Medicaid, and sometimes they're complaining that they can't get the right time appointments. It's like, my God,
You're lucky to have
your child, your child, and you are covered. I'd like to see a good deductible on that. I mean, people with Blue Cross Blue Shield, they have to pay, what, 20% when we go to the doctor or to the hospital? Well, I get almost Nazi about this, you know, because, and I'm very moderate. I was an independent, I'm now a Republican, but I'm a moderate Republican, but it just burns me when they're complaining about appointments not being convenient, when my taxes are going to pay for them for their inconvenient appointments.
Yeah.
And I don't mind, you know, the kids, yes, they need the coverage. And there's always a reason, you know, well, I'm da-da-da, or I'm on disability, or I'm this, I'm that. Well, you know, with my problems, my neuropathy, I could have been on disability. But you work through it as long as you can. At least most of the people that I know here.
Well, bless your heart. I mean, that's a great point to make. I guess it goes back to, I hope we get another shot at doing health care, because my beef is we did nothing in all these pages to address the cost, the out-of-control costs of health care, which is driving
waste. I see it
right.
every day when I work with
And
these.
so when we do, I mean, we all want the same thing. We want affordable health care. We want premiums that everyone can afford. And of course, there's always going to be those few that are disabled or just temporarily down and out that you have to, yeah. But
safety net. Welfare is a safety
right.
net. It is not. I'm working now with people in 4th generation welfare. 4th generation.
Yeah.
Now
we need to do better.
Well, you know, let's. I'm not saying that they can't have children. I'm just saying that let's do like most people who support their family and themselves. You know, 1 or 2. That's great. And it replaces the parents. But you know, that's a moral issue. That's an ethical issue. And the rest of us who try to think morally and ethically, it doesn't seem to work with people who get more money if they have more children.
Well, let's hopefully get another shot at this, bring the costs down, and there are lots of ways to do that through competition, through tort reform. You know, a lot of people, their medical bills, insurance is so expensive because they're doing things they wouldn't otherwise normally do if they didn't think they were going to get sued and taken to the cleaners and lose their livelihood because of it. So get a little bit of cover there without, you know, taking away people's rights. So I know we can do this better and make it affordable for you and every family in America if given another shot at this. So great points. We'll keep that all in mind. Yes.
Well, Lynn, I get your newsletter, and I follow your actions closely, and everybody's been excited. The information we get from you is you've been against Obamacare and the things that it causes, and the creation of all of this expense and those sorts of things. Then we got in this huge debt ceiling fight for 2 weeks. And everybody had to stick out their chest and figure out who was going to be the biggest and the baddest in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
But what happened was all of us folks in Osage County and Lyndon, Kansas, and the state of Kansas lost.
That's right.
because of that inability for people to get together and make a decision like a bunch of grown-ups. And unfortunately, since that event has occurred and it took 2 weeks to come to some resolve, the United States has lost $3.5 trillion in personal wealth. Now that's your money and his money and my money. That's my son's college fund, that's my retirement fund, and it's gone because of the inability of people in Washington, D.C. to understand who we are and why we sent you. I would like to know something of what I want Lynn Jenkins to be talking to me about and to Washington, D.C. about is jobs. Jobs in the state of Kansas. We are trying to create a new economy in the state of Kansas. We need more jobs here. We need to create jobs in this state, and not on just a railroad and not just on the highway, but we need people building houses and creating new enterprises, entrepreneurs to start businesses. We're becoming more and more successful about bringing jobs to Kansas. We have renewed the aircraft industry. But we need a true, vital commitment by the Republican Party, by you, that says we're going to create these jobs and work with the President and the Democrats for the good of the state of Kansas to get jobs here. When we all get to go back to work, I mean, we've lost major industry right here in this county, and it's a major loss to our tax base. Those are people that were paying their taxes, sending their kids to school. All of those people are unemployed or gone now. It's a terrible loss for us, and what I would like for Lynn Jenkins to be doing for us is to be showing us that you're doing something to create jobs in the state of Kansas, to bring that money back home, and to help us revitalize our state.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, I don't disagree with a word you said, but let me just kind of frame where we are and my frustration. Because what we need more than anything else is to get people back to work and to help grow our way out of this mess, in addition to cutting some out-of-control government waste. The growth, as I see it, there are lots of things that we can do. I've sponsored legislation to do that. I've been working very hard to do that. For example, we've been waiting for years to ratify 3 free trade agreements, which has a huge economic boost to not only our nation's economy, but those of us that live right here in Osage County, through increased exports of ag products, aircraft, the aircraft industry, Payless shoes. That trickle-down effect is felt in every community in Kansas, big time. What has to happen to get Colombia, Panama, and South Korea ratified to instantly feel that? The President of the United States has to send the 3 free trade agreements up to Congress. I've been begging, I've been writing letters, we've been having hearings in order to have that happen. I've been telling people, he says he's for free trade, I bet he's going to do it. I thought it was going to happen by July 1st. Then I told people, well, it will happen before we come home to do town halls in August. It didn't happen. Now I'm going to tell you, I really think we can still do that if he'll send them up when we return in September. But the fact is, I can't make him do that, short of yelling and screaming, which I already have, to get him up here so I can get some economic benefit to the folks back home. In addition to that, when you ask job creators, what are the barriers to job growth? They will tell you the same 3 things every time: taxation, regulation, litigation. So I've sponsored legislation that we have passed in the House, sent to the Senate, to rein back this ridiculous, out-of-control regulation that is hitting every industry, whether it's ag production, the financial industry, energy, whether it's the USDA, the EPA, the HUD, FDIC. We have regulators putting people out of business. So we sent legislation over, Senate won't take it up. On the litigation, we've sponsored tort reform. Sent it over, dies in the Senate. Taxation. In our budget bill that we passed, it had fundamental tax reform to eliminate the loopholes on the top end. We've got GE paying no taxes. Who thinks that's a good idea? It's because of this ridiculous tax code we have. And then, like you learned in the little handout, there's 51% of Americans that don't even pay any individual income tax. So the goal was to do fundamental tax reform, flatten the rate, and job creators, the feedback we were getting from job creators is we'll go for that. We'll be happy to give back our accelerated depreciation for the lower rate. We can spend that money on creating jobs. So I feel like we've done everything that you've asked me to do. The problem comes back to there is just a philosophical divide that I've never seen before in Washington. And where compromise used to occur in this Congress, it is not occurring. The Democrats in the Senate and the White House, they want to create jobs and get people back to work by creating government programs. And I can't do that. That's not job growth. For me, it's you all that create jobs. It's the private sector. It's the men and women at home in the private sector that creates jobs. The federal government can't create jobs. They want to raise taxes to solve the debt problem. I don't think that's a good idea. At a time when job creators are telling us, if I have to pay more taxes, that means I have to cut somebody. I have to fire somebody. That's going the wrong way. So short of changing the players in Washington and having people that agree with all of you, and not all of us are going to agree in this room. Some of you may be on the left, some may be on the right. So short of changing the players one way or the other, we are going to remain at this, I think, horrible place for Americans, because that's exactly what happened in the debt limit. Well, they wanted to raise income taxes, and we wanted to cut something, and we weren't backing down, and they weren't backing down. And it just really came to that. And so finally, the players around the table are not changing. Whether we drove past the August 2nd deadline when we ran out of cash in the bank account or not, the same people are still there until after January 2013. So I think we just took the cuts we could get, the $2.5 trillion, and ran knowing full well that every day that we carried this on, we were getting less cuts. So we took the cuts we could get and ran. Does that help at all? I mean, it's still frustrating.
One thing I wanted to bring to light with what you just said, and staying staunchly on this job thing, is one of the issues is you talked about regulation. However, we're not applying the E-Verify regulation. And so what's happening is, I have a young son in Texas who's trying to make a living for a brand new family, and is concerned about taking a job at $14 an hour, 40 hours a week, or $13 an hour at 70 hours a week, so he can pay for a brand new baby and support his wife. And he doesn't know what to do, because if he doesn't take one of these jobs, there are 10 people who are not United States citizens who will take that job behind him. And we have concerns right now in the city of Topeka and in this local area where we're trying to build this new scientific corridor, and there is a tremendous amount of construction that's beginning to blossom from Kansas City to Manhattan and through this whole area. And those construction jobs, and much of those labor jobs, are being filled by people who cannot pass E-Verify. And so those folks that are putting their kids in our schools, and those folks that are paying their bills and paying their doctor bills and paying their taxes, are not able to find gainful employment and are part of the 14 million Americans without a job today. That's what I'm talking about, what we can do to fix things.
That's a perfect example. And again, we've introduced legislation. It will pass out of the House, but I will guarantee you the Senate approach is to pass amnesty. Again, I can't do that. I'm not doing that. I think we need to fix the problem and ask people to do it legally. We appreciate legal immigrants. We just don't appreciate the ones that are breaking the law. And so, once again, you have this huge divide. So while the president has given a nice speech about it,